Yo, what up, folks? How you doing? It's your buddy Phil here, project management trainer and coach. Today we're going to talk about another two processes. What is the difference between managed communications versus managed stakeholder engagement? This is one that is definitely a head scratcher in the life of many students. A lot of students tell me, Phil, I don't know the difference between managed communications and managed stakeholder engagement. Seems like the same thing. The major difference between these ones, folks, is the purpose, is the why behind the process. Why are you doing managed communications? Well, let's talk about what managed communications is, and then we'll be able to define why we're doing it. The managed communications is where you are communicating, get it, with stakeholders. This is where you are speaking to the stakeholders, you're sharing information, you are giving them updates because you promised you would. In other words, you are communicating based on a plan known as a communications management plan. Your communications management plan drives the managed communications process majorly. You see, so if you've got a solid communications management plan, managed communications hopefully will go rather smooth. If you've got a bad communications management plan, or none, then you're going to have a lot of trouble in managed communications. So, to wrap this up, managed communications is communicating with stakeholders with an intent to share promised information. Got that? With an intent to share promised information. All right. Now let's look at managed stakeholder engagement. Managed stakeholder engagement is where we engage our stakeholders. How do you engage your stakeholders? By keeping them interested in the project, by making sure that they get certain items of interest that will keep their focus on the project, whatever those are, whatever those look like. But the main goal of managed stakeholder engagement is you are communicating with an intent to engage. You see, the reason why you communicate here is not to share information. The reason why you communicate in this process is to engage your stakeholders, to get their engagement, to get their focus. So whatever that looks like, whether it's sending out a report to them, giving them something, speaking to them, getting up from behind the desk, traveling to where they are on a plane, whatever it is, managed stakeholder engagement is with the intent to engage. That is the reason why you do what you do. All right? So managed communications, communicating to share information as promised. Managed stakeholder engagement, engaging your stakeholders through any possible, necessary, and valid actions. Hopefully you ain't giving them bribes, but you're engaging them through every means possible, and one of those means is communicating. So you're communicating with an intent to engage, okay? The bottom line is the engagement. If I find myself communicating, I'm doing it because I want to engage a stakeholder. I'm not doing it to fulfill what was planned in the communications management plan. I'm doing it with an intent to engage. Now, could there be overlap here? You betcha. There could be a lot of overlap. You could be communicating with an intent to engage and at the same time find yourself sharing information. But you have to ask yourself, which one am I doing at this particular point in time? And if you're doing both, know why. It will be classified as both. I'm sharing information, but I know this information is going to hook them. It's going to hook them in, you know. So as long as you understand the rationale behind both processes, the exam should be quite straightforward, because a lot of people get mixed up on this one. A lot of people don't know what we mean when we say we are engaging our stakeholders or we're managing stakeholder engagement, and as we're doing that, we find ourselves communicating. Some folks just don't get that. But anyway, that's the summary of what I wanted to tell you today. Managed communications versus managed stakeholder engagement. For another day, we should probably talk about the difference between monitor stakeholder engagement versus managed stakeholder engagement, because people get that one mixed up, those two mixed up as well. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for joining. Talk to you again soon.